Yeah, we're live.
Sick. Um,
Hello, all you
so
millions of viewers out there.
hello, our adoring fans.
So many of them. Oh,
I mean, Shannon Cam fan rolls off the tongue.
yeah,
Why wouldn't
totally.
someone want to be part of that?
Yeah, start a revolution.
And we can call them our chamours, because like the sham they're polyshamorous.
Where did you?
And
Oh my God, that's amazing. I can't believe you just came up with that,
branding, we
Kevin.
got the merch. Now we just need the fans who actually are invested in what we're
Yeah,
doing.
we actually need fans. They're
Um,
like,
so I I put together a list of some things we could talk about today.
cool. I love it. Yeah, I came prepared.
Um, okay, so I guess I put together two items that we could talk about as a
That's
starting
all
point.
we need. You really only need one item with us, and then it's like we're gonna have to cut it short.
Yeah, so I uh I had your background acting as like a like topic that we could explore here because I think there are a lot of people out there who would love to hear about the mystical and wonderful world of background acting.
I think there's
Um,
nobody who wants to hear about what it's like to be an extra in a shitty show.
I want to know.
I get that you want to
Because,
know. I don't think our audience does, but it will nevertheless lead to an interesting conversation because it's you and I. So
well, I think maybe our audience is the people who take an interest in that. Because, like, to me, it's fascinating. Like, I love watching background actors when I'm watching things. Like, I've
fair
told
enough.
you a couple of, I've been watching The Walking Dead recently. And, like, this is such a smorgasbord of background acting. Like every time there is a zombie crowd scene, I'm skipping over the first three rows. Like those are like the A-list backgrounders of like you're now like you get a special scene. It's gonna zoom in on you. Like I want to see who's like six rows back in the zombie horde and like how they're playing their steez because like you will see people who are absolutely the stars of the show just like existing in that background space. Like I cannot tell you how many times I have seen someone like they're going to be credited as like zombie number 39 and they are like they have created a backstory for this zombie. Like they are walking with an affectation that no one else is. They're doing like thrashing movements, like everyone else is like kind of shoveling and they're like nah, rah, rah, like going above and beyond. And like to me like the idea of being that sort of like you are the star of the sideshow sort of energy of like sure there's like here's the focal point of the story but like what's going on back here, what's their story, like who were they before they turned into a zombie, like why is this zombie so lively, like how did the zombie develop this specific kind of limp, like I feel like there's so much like world building that happens in that space that's so interesting. And so like to me, I am fascinated. I like background acting and like what goes into those performances and like how do you balance between like bringing like a unique flavor to your role versus like not like stealing the spotlight and stuff. So like I feel like there's a lot to like dig into there and especially like I'm curious about this like hockey show and like I just want to hear all the things. So
Um, I mean, I correct you right away with like a bunch of things. Um, Calling it acting is a bit of a stretch. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of. You said something earlier that I was like, oh, that I gotta catch that. But if I don't write down what you said, then I completely forget what you just said. Like, like there was a myriad. I'm like, concentrate on what you're saying and not what you're gonna, what you're or what Cam is saying rather than what you're going to say. And then I lose what I was gonna say because so. Where do I start with that? Hold on, let me think. Yeah, calling it acting is a stretch. I mean, I don't, I think that watching background acting is much more interesting than doing it. And I think that a lot of like what would make background acting, or let's call it extras. Let's not call it what it is. It's not really that much acting. I think that, um, like what makes it interesting is if you're like interested in the movies and you're like you care about things like famous people, and you can be like, whoa, I saw River Phoenix, or I saw, I was standing in the same room as Nicole Kidman. And I like, if you don't care about that stuff, and I'm on that spectrum, like it's just a job where you sit in really uncomfortable chairs in rainy tents, and then like for 12 hours, and out of those 12 hours, four of them you pretend to be in a hospital bed and you just lay there, or like you said, you get to be like a zombie. um there's there's just like so nothing to it. I don't know where to start. Like you will have to ask me a question because there's just so nothing to it.
Um, okay, like I would love for you to clarify what you mean by like it's not acting. Because like I get that it's like different from being in like a spoken line sort of like part, but at the same time, like maybe it's just like the shows that I watch, but like in the shows that I watch, like the background characters are still like essential for world
Okay,
building,
yeah, yeah, there's some
essential
acting.
for
Like I
immersion.
remember being on a juror, like I was a juror on a show, and like we had to react, and like you have to react. Like right now we're like, you know, I guess the thing that's really entertaining about this hockey show that I'm on actually is the background acting, because like, okay, so hockey show, it's kind of like the Friday Night Lights of hockey, going to be made for Netflix, and we could get into that, but I probably will get sued. But I kind of want to get into it. If I don't name it, I can get away with it. But one thing I find really entertaining is like, they have these like stars of the shows that are these like teenage hockey guys, because it's supposed to be a teenager thing. And this is why I texted you and I was like, does America really give a shit about high school sports? And you're like, yes. And I'm like, every Canadian in the world is raising an eyebrow at that. Like, we just are not, we are so British when it comes to audiences. Like, Americans always complain when we go to Canada and they're like, 30-year-old potatoes, no meat or whatever, because we don't like laugh at every dumb shit you say. Like, and you go to England and they're like even more like that. Like, it's hard to please a British audience. It's really hard to please. I mean, it's hard to please a Canadian audience. It's really hard to please a British audience. And we're a little bit in, again, with everything. We're a little bit American, a little bit British, but like, anyway, so you got these, so we don't give a shit about high school sports. Like, nobody fucking cares except for that one really insane parent out of 10 that takes it way too seriously. But we do care about professional sports, like everybody does. Anyways, so
Do you mind if I'm
please.
so sorry. I'm
Don't actually
curious where
apologize.
collegiate sports fall on that, because collegiate
What the
sports
fuck
are
is
bigger than high
collegiate?
school
Oh,
sports.
as per collegiate means college, as per colleges. Is that the word?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard it used a million times, but another word I don't think we use a ton in Canada. Because in America, you guys have a lot of colleges and very few universities. And in Canada, up until recently, we had more universities really than colleges. Colleges are kind of a new thing. Like, you either went to like some trade school, there were some like transfer colleges, like colleges that would allow you to transfer to universities, but generally we're like a university country. That's changing because of privatization of schools, so like now you're getting more and more colleges, but like, I remember learning that like it was like in America, like everything's like college, college, college. And even now, like you'll hear somebody like me and Lance will say like we met in college, but we're just using an American term. Like we actually met in university. So Canadians will say college when they mean university.
So do Americans. Like that's like there is more of a like probably a higher prevalence of colleges than universities like than in Canada, but like most of my friends went to universities and
Okay.
called it college. Like college is just the colloquial term for like you start saying university once you start getting into like post grad stuff.
Okay.
Um but like where you go and do your bachelor's degree, like unless you're like a hoity-toity snooty type who went to an Ivy League school, and even still, like we'll say Ivy League colleges instead of Ivy
Yeah.
League universities. Like it's just they're used interchangeably in college as like the default term for like
Okay.
that higher educational space. Most people don't make a distinction between them.
So at the collegiate level, no, we don't give a shit about college sports either.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like the United States is so like March
I
Madness,
know.
if you've
Yeah,
heard of
I've
March
heard of like
Madness, like
college
that's
football is a big
colleges.
deal there, college basketball. But the high school thing, like I was like I could suspend disbelief if this show had been about college. I would have been like, yeah, Americans are crazy about college sports. But like this show is about high school and they were it the crowds they were putting together for these high school games were the size of crowds that come together for like the Vancouver Canucks in Vancouver. Like, you know, the city that rioted because we lost the Stanley Cup. Like, you know, I'm like, this is insane. Like, every seat is filled and people are wearing the jerseys of their favorite high school, like, goalie. Like, that doesn't exist. And so I just thought it was super unrealistic.
I've never seen people wearing jerseys of high school players, but like that could be a thing in like certain schools. I don't know how big the crowds are. Like, if you had to rough estimate how many people in a crowd for like in this
Well,
game for a game.
let me put it this way. So I did a seat filler for stadium fans. It's a little bit hard for me to explain it, so to just give you a rough number, right? So I'm going to explain it, and then we
Okay.
can rough out the numbers together. Um, it was at a venue that used to be where the Vancouver Canucks played. So it's that size, large city, big sport that everybody gives a shit about, prominent team. So, you know, we're talking thousands of seats. And they had us,
Yeah.
there was 500 extras, and they had us fill basically every seat. There was like it was like every four people there'd be like an empty seat. So it was like stacked, and they did like a full what they call tiling. So we did like 500 people in a set of seats, then we moved to 500 people in another set of seats, and then they film it at all these different angles so they have us as backdrop. So they would have filmed it. So when I say 500 extras, I'm not saying there were 500 people presented in the show. They would be showing a high school game having like thousands. I mean, I think about how many tiles it did. If we did had 500 extras and we did one, two, three, four, five, six tiles, so that's it makes it look like this
Three.
that there was 3,000 people at a high school hockey game. Like that can't be realistic.
So I'm gonna have to use my frame of reference, which is again very limited, because I never felt the urge to go to high school sporting events that I was not mandated at as a marching band member and pep band member. Um, so like most of the games I saw were like my small hometown games. Occasionally we would go to away games with the team. Um, so I got to see like what the crowd numbers were like at some of the like we were the smallest high school in our area by a long shot. Um, like the other schools were like part of bigger towns, had like bigger like student bodies and bigger local populations. So for my hometown games, for our football team was the most popular team. It really varies throughout the states whether it's going to be the football team or the basketball team that gets the most attention. Those are the two. The soccer team is secondary. Tennis, who cares? Like track meets, like that's just going to be like parents there. But like football, basketball, and then like hockey, where hockey is played, which like not every school in the US has hockey teams. Most do not. Like that's pretty specific to like that northern Midwest area. And
The
probably the
fact that you
Northeast too.
even
But
have high school hockey teams, we don't have high school hockey teams in Canada. We have teenage aged hockey programs like extracurricular, but we do not have like schools with ice arenas. Like, we have schools with like a fucking field and a gym, but we don't have schools with an ice arena or a pool. Like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, like I mentioned before and like texting you about this, like funding for schools very frequently is like prioritized to the
Oh
athletics
yeah,
team.
that's right. You were saying.
Um, to the point that if like the school is short on budget, if they have to choose between like maintaining athletic budget versus like maintaining arts programs, or like in my school there was like a school radio station, and like the funding for that was like called into question. Even though they were like actively building a new football stadium. And so one of the things I learned was that like certain like funding for the school has to be applied to athletics. Just like you can't choose that it goes somewhere else. Like it has to go to the athletics teams. But also like schools tend to prioritize that because like A, draws crowds. For every football game you host, every basketball game you host, you've got a concession stand that's selling stuff at a markup. You've got like sometimes they'll have like student made merch and things like that. You buy a t-shirt, you buy like a mascot plushie or whatever. That's money for the school. For a lot of the big games, they were charging admission for tickets. So like they're having people pay like, I think it was like $5 per game, unless it was like one of the like championship sort of type games. And then it was $10 a game. And that was just for home games. Or you could buy like a pass for the entire season, and it was like $50 to buy a pass outright. So it's like they put a lot of money into athletics because they get a lot of money out of athletics. And then also like there are a bunch of parents who think like their kid's going to be the next Michael Jordan, and so they're like you have to maintain this because this is my son's scholarship opportunity or whatever. Yeah, so a lot of schools, my school didn't have a pool. A lot of schools do, especially larger schools. My school again had like a brand new like AstroTurf football stadium that was designed to hold like up to I think 5,000 people. That was built like halfway through like my time in high school. Yeah. So yeah, like to give you the sense of scale once again. So I told you I come from a hometown of about 2,000, 2,500 people, at least when I moved away. I don't think it's grown much since then.
2,500 people, and then you put a 5,000 person stadium. So if every single
Well, this
person,
is
infant, elderly, ill person, hospitalized person, goes to your game, it only fills up half the stadium.
well, then you've got to account for everyone who travels in for the other team, which people would do. People would travel like 30, 40 minutes to the next town over to catch the game. Like the
I mean, I
games.
guess that's kind of cool. You know, I judge it from my Canadian snobbery, but I guess that's kind of cool because, like, it, you know, generates a sense of community and, like, it's something that brings joy to people and, you know.
I think the big thing was like it was cheap entertainment in an area where like I grew up genuinely like sandwiched amongst the cornfields. Like my hometown is small and there was not really anything to do. We had like three or four restaurants, a ton of churches,
Of
a
course.
library, but the library had really limited hours. If you wanted to like hang out and like play pool or play darts, you had to go to the VFW in town. Like, um, there was just like not really entertainment spaces. There were not activities to do in that town. Like that's just not something that they thought was needed. We had like one shitty little park that the cops would drive through and yell at teenagers for loitering if we used that space. Like there was just nothing to do in this town. If you wanted to even do things as simple as like going skating or going bowling or like go catch a movie, you had to drive either 30 minutes in one direction or 35 minutes in the other direction. The 35-minute drive took you to a nicer town, but it was an extra 5 minutes of driving. The 30-minute drive took you to the shitty town next door that was very much like a methamphetamine capital.
I feel like you're
And you could
describing
go to a,
Pawnee, Indiana, which is really funny because it's like a fictional town in Indiana, and you're talking about fucking Indiana.
except for the fact, so Muncie, Indiana, that is referenced in Parks and Recreation, is a real town that most of my friends went to college in. Um, Pawnee
By
would
which you mean
be,
university.
by which I mean university, Ball State University. Go Cardinals. Yeah, so Pawnee, based on its proximity to Muncie, Indiana, probably would be somewhere in the vicinity of where I grew up. Like,
Okay, yeah,
truly,
yeah.
like, because I grew up about, like, my hometown is about 40 minutes from Muncie, 35 if you catch the traffic at the right time, but just kind of southwest-ish from there. Um, but yeah, like, that is truly what it was. And so you have a bunch of people in town, nothing to do.
Yeah.
Suddenly, there it's football season, and every Friday night you are guaranteed to have an outing. You're guaranteed to have something to do.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, I
not that
get it.
expensive.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the home games, easy. If you want to follow the team and go to the away games, well, now you're driving to Newcastle, Indiana, or you're driving to Anderson, Indiana, or you're driving to New Palestine, Indiana. And so, like, you're driving to these bigger towns that have more things to do. And so it's like, let's make a night of it. Let's go out and see a movie and then go watch the football team play. Or let's go, like, watch them, and then we can go to Applebee's because my hometown didn't have an Applebee's. We had a Subway and a McDonald's and a Burger King and a truck stop diner and like a couple of pizza spots. Like you wanted to sit down and have a steak at a restaurant, you've got to go to one of those towns. And so like then it was an event. It was like, now I have a justification to drive this town and over to this town and stop at this restaurant, and then maybe we stop at Walmart while we're over here because my hometown didn't have a Walmart. Or like there was like this tiny little grocery store where everything was always past its expiration date. Like,
Yeah, we're starting to
bad
get those
vibe.
in Canada now. It's like a whole thing.
It,
Expired food because food's so expensive here. Can I just interject and
yeah.
say, like, as you're describing this, my mind is kind of going in the direction of like, this is kind of nice. Like, it's sort of like beautiful. Like, it's very like community oriented. And then it's like, what Canadians should really pick up on this. Canadians should really start going to their high school games. And then I thought about it and I was like, imagine if I like tried to start that in Canada and I just showed up to like my neighborhood high school game. Like it would be a matter of minutes before the RCMP like showed up to have a chat with why I'm there.
Right.
Like I would
Like,
be immediately clocked as a pervert. Like immediately. It'd be like, "Oh, why is this random person at this high school hockey game or at this high school we don't have hockey, but at this high school basketball game?" Like they'd be like, must be a pervert because it's so culturally not done here that like a stranger who doesn't know any of the kids well or is not a family member would like show up at a fucking high school game. So
well, so
anyways,
that's the
what I'm trying
thing.
to
It's
say is
like,
I don't think I'm going to be able to foster the high school spirit here in Canada on my own single-handedly.
see, this is getting into like the dark backside because you're like, oh, that sounds like great community building. And in some ways it is, yeah. But you also then like have creepy adults at the high school games. Like, I'm not going to name names because like I don't want to get caught up in any weird slander stuff. But there was a local police officer who was very much in his 30s who went to all of the high school games and used the opportunity to talk to the high school girls in the
Yeah.
band at those games. Um, like it really was like an entry point for like adults with bad intentions to like
Yeah.
be in proximity to high schoolers and like not just be in proximity but like behave like their peers. I feel like it also made it like it was weird with the teachers sometimes because like I had an English teacher who would go and like watch the cheerleaders. Like she was specifically there to watch the cheerleaders because she had been a cheerleader herself. But then like it was just like this weird sort of like I feel like it kind of created this like arrested development for her where she was like palling around with the cheerleaders and being like, I was a cheerleader when I was in high school too. And I'm like, yeah, but you're like in your 40s now and you have like teenage kids. Like you can't
Yeah.
live in that anymore. Also, like, there would be a lot of, like, think about like the shittiest like pro sports fans you can think of, who are just like yelling at the ref and yelling at the players and yelling at that. Now put that energy in the face of high schoolers.
Oh yeah.
It's like, there are, if people could be cool, it would be great. Like, it would be like this beautiful bit of like community support and community building, and like, let's turn out and like support like the like leaders of tomorrow, the same way that like going to like a high school theater production is
Yeah.
like supportive and community building and nice, which like those also like had big draws in my town, less than the sports. But like, again, it was something that was very inexpensive to do, that was like enjoyable. Band concerts would frequently get like random people from town, not just like the parents and stuff, like not the parents and the students, but like just random people would show up. Because like, again, like small town, not much to do, like these are opportunities to support the community. Maybe you don't have a kid in there, but you know six people who do have kids there, so like now you're here to support like your neighbor's kids or your church fellowship's kids or whatever. um like it has this opportunity to be like this really beautiful thing, but instead, like, sometimes it was, and sometimes it was very much like adults like being weird about teenagers, and like holding them to like higher standards than like high school athletes should be held to. Like getting weirdly aggro with the refs, like trying to like flirt with high schoolers, or just like generally like contributing to like a weird vibe.
Hmm.
um and yeah, like also I feel like there's a downside of like the egos that you see on like the football star or like the head cheerleader or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
it's pretty toxic because like I know, you know, from American media that American high schools are extraordinarily cliquey and like extraordinarily like socially striated.
Yeah, the hierarchy. By the way, we have that in Canada too. We just don't have the same categories. Like we have similar, some overlap. So let's take. I'm interrupting you. Do you mind?
Go for it.
Okay, we're gonna have a really organic conversation here. When you watch a cliche high school movie that's made in America, they always have that one scene where like the new kid comes in and the old kid is showing them around and being like, at that table there's the goths, and like at that table is the stoners, and at that table are the high school cheerleaders, and you know, the popular girls or whatever. Like we have that in Canada, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was ubiquitously cultural across all white, like overarchingly white cultures. Um, but we have kind of different categories. Like I mentioned before, like nobody cares about who the fucking cheerleader is. Like at least not in my day, unless something's changed, and I don't think it has because I like taught in the schools for a little bit. The hierarchy is there, but you don't get any like cred for being like a sports star. Like if you're like captain of the football team, like nobody really like there was some clocking it, like a little bit of clocking it. Like there's a, oh, you know, like she's a cheerleader, like you kind of know that, and it sort of puts them in a place. Like you're like, she's the cheerleader type, he's the captain of the football type. But that wasn't like an automatic, like now you're bumped to the top of the popularity curve or whatever you want to call it, the social hierarchy. Like they would be like captain of the football team and head cheerleader in a Canadian high school. They're the kind of people who think they're the top of the hierarchy and act like they're the top of the hierarchy, but they are not the top of the hierarchy. It'll be somebody else. It'll be somebody with like more social clout than them. And often it's not the meanest people. Like often the people who are like the most popular, the most respected, everybody wants to be friends with, are like really like nice people.
I feel like there's some degree of that
looking
in the US.
But good looking. You have to have that.
Oh yeah.
That's universal.
Yeah, I feel like attractive and rich tends to get you pretty high on the list, no matter what else you got going for you.
Yeah.
like here in the US, like there is so sports stars like automatically near the top of the list. That's not like the only qualifier to get you up there. Like um sometimes it's about who you know, like especially in small town America, like the families that had been established there longer, so like all of them knew each other, like there was like a clout that came with that. There was farmer clout, like the kids of like the people who had the biggest farms in the area were like automatically popular. Um, there were some who were just kind of like got there just because they were like the Miss and Mr. Congeniality types, like just people who like truly meshed with everyone. Um,
Yeah, and I think that's
and like
more what I'm saying about nice. I was like, more like, because like yeah, because nice is performative, right? Like, so it's really miscongeniality. I like that way of putting it. Mr. and Mrs. It's like the person who is the most socially capable of swimming in shark infested waters and making everybody smell like roses. Like,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
everybody likes Eric. Everybody, Eric and Eric like everybody. Like, it's like
Yeah, like, oh gosh, sorry, I I dropped my fidget spinner.
all of our fans are
um,
so upset. They're like, this is so
um,
unprofessional.
deal with it. Yeah, like there were definitely like there was a gal who like was very much like that person at my school. There were a couple who were like close to that, but like there's one who like really comes to mind, whose name was Carly, and she was like genuinely like she was such a like gap bridger
Yeah.
between like all of these different like social circles, all the different types. Like she like got along with the cheerleaders and like the burnouts and the band kids and like the theater nerds and like the academic nerds and like the farm kids and like everyone. Like she was just like such a ray of sunshine that like everyone kind of like wanted to gravitate towards her. And she was fucking hilarious too. Like, I'm sure she still is. I'm not talking about her in the past tense because she is like deceased or anything.
God
Like,
rest her soul.
she and I just like haven't really kept in touch over the years. But
Yeah.
like she's just fucking hilarious and super just easygoing about everything. Like nothing ever seemed to get under her skin. And like that made her someone who like she was unflappable, so like people
Yeah.
would be mean to her and she's like, yeah, I don't care, and then they'd be like, oh, like it's actually really cool that you don't care, like let's be friends.
Yeah.
um and so like I actually like she and I were like good friends. We watched Harry Potter movies together pretty frequently, back when I god back when Harry Potter wasn't as tainted as it is now. But yeah, like we would hang out on the weekends
It's
and
okay.
stuff.
I watched Bill Cosby when I was your age.
Oh God.
Yours is actually better than mine.
I grew up on the Cosby Show. I truly like his true nature coming out was devastating
Yeah.
because it truly did like shatter like the illusion of my childhood.
Yeah, that one
Um
stung. That one stung. And that one was
yeah.
shocking. Like, like Harvey Weinstein, you're like, you're not
Yeah.
little nuts. And like other people, you're like, Kevin Spacey is something. You're like, Bill Cosby, are you fucking kidding me?
I
And
know.
like he's not just like he's not like Louis C.K. It's like no,
Yeah,
he's like
there's no
worse
like
than
plausible
Weinstein.
deniability.
He's
Like
worse
there's
than
no
Weinstein. Like he makes Weinstein look tame. I'd rather be stuck in a hotel room with Harvey Weinstein than with Bill Cosby. Wow.
I know.
Not
I
that either of
know.
them would be interested in me, thank God for my masculinity.
Yeah. God. Uh Poor Bill, not poor Bill Cosby, poor everyone who believed in Bill Cosby.
Yeah, which was
Um,
all of us.
it's the thing that fucks me up. It's like Bill Cosby, like he got to have his full career before his like reputation tanked and everything came out. And I think about Pee Wee Herman.
I
Um,
know.
and I think about like
He was
Like
canceled
every
because he's like a normal fucking dude that does like normal dude shit.
Yeah, like it really feels like he was canceled more on like behalf of like homophobia than like actual like moral concerns with like what he had done.
Well, and
'Cause like
I think it was so sort of yeah, oh, 100%, just so you know. But like also to add another layer to that, like it was because he ran a kids show, right? So it was really easy to be like he runs a kids show and he has the sexuality, like whereas like it was kid specific. It wasn't like the Cosby Show where it was like everybody watched it. But anyways, I'm not excusing the cancellation, nor him, his indiscretion. But yeah, like you said, it's a bit insane that Cosby got to like he got canceled like long after he became irrelevant or his career was over and he was properly retired. Um, but I mean, I wouldn't like don't feel too bad for Pee Wee Herman. Like he made enough money to. He made more
I'm
money
like
than I made in my lifetime, probably in 2 years. So
yeah, like I've read a lot of interviews from people who like knew Paul Rubens. Um and like overwhelmingly everyone says he was a genuinely good person. And so like to me it like kind of stings knowing like he made one bad decision and like part of like I think the issue was like he committed to being Pee Wee Herman in like all of his performances, all of his appearances. Like he was never out of character. And so like it wasn't Paul Rubens who made that mistake. It was Pee Wee Herman who made that mistake. And so like that was like trying to separate that from like the performer behind the character, like impossible. But like, yeah, so many people have said like he's a genuinely good person. He was a philanthropist. Like he like did everything in his power to like give back to like the community and to people where he could. And so like again, it's just like did he make a bad decision and like reap the consequences of said bad decision? Yeah. It's what happened. Like I'm not saying like that was wrong. I'm just saying like I don't know, like we have seen children's performers like him like have their entire like life tanked because of one bad decision and then like again like there are people who got to have like full fruitful careers and then like as they're like fading into obscurity then it's like oh by the way here are the consequences of your actions now that it like doesn't actually negatively impact your career.
and Cosby didn't even really have any consequences because he went to jail for a minute and then got released on a technicality and his entire case thrown out. So he's walking around as a free man. Like the only consequences is a little bit of embarrassment. Well, a lot of embarrassment, but like it should be deeper shame than just embarrassment. It should be like a soul searching, like I'm going to hell feeling, which I doubt any of these men actually ever really face until they maybe until they die.
I mean, you can't expect self-awareness from people who like being self-aware is like fundamentally incompatible with like being an abuser on that level because
Absolutely.
like the more self-awareness you are, the more self-aware you are, the more you are unpacking those desires rather than just like acting blindly on them. The more empathetic you are, the more like aware of the impact that you're having. Like like there's a reason why like people with empathy can't become uber rich as well. Like it's the same sort of thing of
Yeah.
like empathy and like self-awareness and like emotional intellect. Like you would be drowning in shame before you even like acted on it for the first time. Like so yeah, he's probably not even a little bit bothered. Maybe a little bit bothered, but like not nearly like not tortured by it the way that he should be. Not
Yeah,
like
I mean they're bothered by like their own like, manufactured victimhood, but they're not sitting there thinking about like, oh, the things I did to these women. Like what if that was me? What if I was that woman? How like I think that they're just incapable like the whole like thinking about, you know, would I like that if somebody did it to me? Like that is just does not I compute. Like I honestly think, and I mean we've had this discussion before, nature versus nurture with regards to the sociopath. But for the sociopath that comes by it via nature, like I actually think they're like missing a portion of their brain that like actually allows them to understand that like other people are conscious and experiencing things, and like that the world isn't like completely about them, and that like the idea of like, would I like that if somebody did it to me? I don't think they can do it because they don't really think of us as real or alive. Like everything is just an existential, nihilistic, philosophical world where everything revolves around their one point of conscious awareness. You know, like everything else is a prop in their play. You know, there
Yeah,
for the
everyone else
taking.
is an NPC, as some people
Yeah,
online say.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, um, I don't I've come to a point in my life too, just when I meet people like that, it's like I try to I try quickly to like recognize that and be like, don't even try it with this person. Like there's no point. And please like appealing to their sense of empathy, so like telling them how you feel is like one of the biggest mistakes that like we have made as a species in terms of psychology and therapy and like counseling and all this kind of stuff. It's like this idea of like, you know me, like I really push against this idea of like nonviolent language. They're like, you know, it's always like approach it with like I comments, and then you're like, I feel like this when you do this, and that only works if that person gives a shit about how they're making you feel. Like it only works if they have the ability to like put themselves in somebody else's shoes. So with, you know, my dad, for example, who I think is on the sociopath spectrum, good man, just for the record, he's a good moral man who would never hurt anybody, but who I think doesn't have the same empathy centers as a normal person. Just he's just logical, so he can see the logic and not harming others. But like, you know, when I finally gave up on trying to appeal to his emotional side, like this is how I feel, like this is what's making me do this, these are my motivations, this is where I'm coming from, this is how this makes me feel, and realizing that was actually just like an endless treadmill of nothing with him, and start like approaching it from like this perspective of like, okay, what if he doesn't have an empathy center? Then like, what, you know, how do I have a conversation with this person? And then it's like, oh, there's so much more progress in this relationship now that I'm not asking somebody in a wheelchair to climb Mount Everest and getting frustrated that they can't, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, interestingly enough, like, it's not the same, but like, it's kind of similar. So, like, I have noticed this in my son, that same sort of like tendency of like empathy doesn't come naturally for them. Um, I frequently have to like, instead of explaining like this is how I feel, like I frequently have to like frame it in terms of like, okay, imagine that you put this energy in. Imagine you did this thing and then I reacted the way that you just reacted. And then it's like, oh yeah, that seems like it would feel bad. It's like, okay, yes, that's how I feel right now. Like having to frame it through the lens of like their feelings, um, to kind of like give that sort of like sense of like context. And I know that this is something that like some autistic people struggle with. Um, which like I don't like the stereotype that like autistic people struggle with empathy like just as a whole, because like autism is a spectrum, and like the struggles of people with autism definitely a spectrum as well. I have met just as many autistic people who struggle with like having too much empathy and like not being able to like navigate it. Um, as I have like autistic people who struggle to feel empathy at all. But like I definitely feel like my son is like kind of in that Give me 1 second. You're grabbing dessert? Okay, doke. Enjoy. Mwah, you're the absolute best too. Speak of the devil.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like through them, like I definitely have gotten that like perspective on like some people you really have to spell it out for. Like some people like if you do not frame things through the lens of like their emotions and like making them sit in like those emotions. Like if it's anyone else's emotions, they're never gonna like recognize it. Like it has to be their emotions that are being pinged for it to be like meaningful. But like I've also met people like your dad for whom like even that is an exercise in frustration. Like it's climbing that Mount Everest of like trying to build a like sense of like connection and understanding that's just not there and it's never going to be there. Um, and so like I guess my question for that is like how do we like how do you create like common ground with your dad in the absence of that as a highly empathetic person, and then like more broadly can that be applied to like society to like I don't know create like some sense of understanding where it's like I don't know like these people can who are like using that tendency to not be able to empathize to like hurt other people like can be reached in a meaningful way. It's a
I
big
mean, that's a good
question.
question. I mean, like, I think, like, if you have people like your son who, like, it just takes some teaching, like, and I think a lot of kids are that way. Like, they go through their, like, age 3 and they suddenly go through, like, a hitting phase or yelling phase or whatever. And you have to be like, well, how would you think that would make you feel? And then it, like, you do teach those traits. Like, I even remember being taught those traits as a kid. Like that's, probably my mom's department, but you know, put yourself in the other people's shoes. Although I think that backfired because like I do that naturally, so you know, being taught it on top of it meant I had 40 years of like beating myself up and thinking everything was kind of my fault. And my responsibility to mitigate like everybody else's emotions and feelings and reactions are like the consequence of me, and it's up to me to fix it, which is like really not a good thing to teach somebody who's like naturally empathic. um
Yeah.
but like I obviously don't have the answer for it, but we're just spitballing here, and like I'm telling you my opinion is like sociopathy like in its natural form is not changeable. So there's no like teaching society empathy. There's no like um, you have to build systems that. So the only way to deal with it is you have to build systems that um, well, that do a lot of things, but include um, keeping sociopaths on the right path, and build systems that like reward, you know, group thinking, like being able to recognize like what's healthy for the group. So, because a sociopath will like go towards whatever's rewarding for him. Um, so if it just like if you're like the big hero for like saving the drowning child, they're gonna save the drowning child because they want the big hero payoff. And so to some extent, we have built some of these systems in. For example, like consequences like prison at its heart is supposed to be some of these like guidelines and guardrails that we have put up to create a healthier ecosystem where like there are consequences to not thinking about others and only thinking about yourself. Like you could land in jail. Unfortunately, a lot of our systems have been co-opted by and organically developed from sociopaths. So My answer is it has to be systemic design. And it's really hard to systemically design yourself out of a system that is like designed to reward the sociopath for being destructive or selfish.
I agree. I would say, okay, so here's my idea that I'd like to pitch to you, and I'm going to explain. I think we need to make the sequel to Church. Because, like, when you're talking about these systems that, like, provide rewards for behaving properly, like, that's what Church was kind of designed to do in some capacity or another. Like, from the beginning, like, here are a set of rules. You don't kill people, you don't steal from people, you love your neighbor the way you love yourself. Like, all of these rules for, like, keeping sociopaths in check, and the reward is you get to go to heaven and meet Jeezy Crazy. Like, that's a pretty sweet reward. It's like I can delay like the gratification that I want to feel in life because like there is a big old prize like forever after like I got to make it through 80 years of not being a piece of shit and then I get forever in this good place. Like that's a pretty sweet incentive, right? Um and so like I think that that did like as complicated as my relationship with religion and the church is, like I do think for some people it's been a necessary tool throughout human history because like it is like a clear set of rules and a clear set of consequences that like keeps people from like veering into like sociopathic behavior. But you know, you were saying like a lot of systems have been co-opted by sociopaths and like I mean the church has always had space for those like and I'm this is regardless of which church and which religion you're talking about like religious hierarchies in general have attracted people who want power who abuse said power but like especially like if we're looking at the Protestant Christian church in the United States right now, like there has been a massive co-opting of like Christianity, Christian ideals, the Christian faith to be used by like right-wing fascists. Um, and so like this thing that was already like sort of like hit or miss at best is being co-opted primarily by people who want to use it as a justification to kill people, which is against the Ten Commandments, or to like hurt people or kind of to be xenophobic, to be racist, to be homophobic, to be transphobic, to like be misogynistic, like all of these things that are like against the principles of Christianity, like Christianity is now like being used as the face of. Um and so like to me, I feel like social systems can offer like rewards but like unless we're monetizing being a good person, like the incentives of like you'll have a sense of community don't really like speak to a sociopath. Like you'll have a sense of community to someone who like does not have empathy is nothing. Like that offers them no meaningful reward. Um I feel like supernatural rewards a la church are rewarding because it's like that's not something you can buy. That's not something that like you can steal. That's not something that like you can get through any other means. Like you have to behave this way in order to like get this thing. So it's like without relying on like a supernatural narrative, what kind of reward could be created for sociopathic people to create the sequel to Church that like doesn't call on God as like the be all end all and doesn't call on like heaven, like offers an actual like reward that can be delivered on that has the same level of
Hmm.
incentive as heaven.
I mean, can you beat heaven? No. I mean, I feel like it's like all the brains in the world came up with the most ridiculous reward you can possibly get. It would be an eternity of bliss. Um, but I think you're posing a really good. I mean, this is really a good question. I can't think of a reward that goes beyond eternal bliss, but I mean, I suppose the Buddhists sort of did it with like nirvana, this idea of like waking up. But again, that's sort of super in the realm of supernatural. Um, I think I'm gonna have to chew on this one.
I think, like, when I think about it, I think we might be getting to a stage in technology
Superpowers.
where superpowers would be sick. But here's the question. Once they get the superpowers, what incentive is there for them to continue behaving well?
Correct.
Like,
The fear of
I feel
hell
like
sure was a real like perfect placeholder for that shit. Hey, like, boy, now that you're thinking, now that we're really like deconstructing it, like the system of morality set by like fear of imaginary absolutes like hell and heaven cannot be beat, really.
I
I guess you
think
know
to
what?
me,
I know what people really want right now. Apparently, sociopaths, what they really, really want more than heaven or to go to heaven or to avoid a hell, the thing they want more than anything else in the world is to live forever. They want to
that
stay in this particular meat puppet in this particular era in this particular place.
so this gets into my idea
Okay.
because okay, like if we let someone live forever, like we'd have to have a kill switch of like if you start misbehaving, you die. Because otherwise, again, like they get their magic immortality pill or whatever, and then like there is no more incentive. Like religion did so well at setting these as death conditions of like you have to do good the whole time. And only if you've done good the whole time do you get this like magical thing at the end. So like immortality, conventional immortality, I don't think so. But I feel like we are getting to the point where we can at least sell people on the idea of, I'm not saying this is possible. I'm saying like we're selling the concept of their consciousness being uploaded into like an
Okay.
AI type system
Yes.
when their body fails. Now, we can fake this because like if you give like an LLM like five writing samples from a person, it can convincingly write like that person. It can replicate voices, it can replicate faces, like to your family, to your friends, to the stakeholders at the company that you own, whatever, like you're still there. So like even though like the consciousness aspect, like I don't think like they would be conscious in the system, like we do not have technology there yet. Maybe someday, but like I don't see it as like a continuation of their soul, but like in their minds, like if their big thing is like I want to run my company forever, like okay, congratulations, the CEO is now an LLM and like can't be like voted out by the board. Like immortality in like their positions, their clout, their bank accounts keep accruing money. Like even in death they know that they're like still famous and still rich and still whatever.
I mean,
I
you're
think that
describing. I feel like you're describing a pharaoh's tomb. In a lot of ways, right? It's like, I can't take it. I can't take it with me, but I can put my name all over everything, and I can have a million statues to me. And there's this idea of like carrying this legacy on. But I gotta say, like, this is gonna pivot me to something else here, a little bit, and it's funny because this whole conversation is making me think about what you said about the soul, and it made me think about, so like the type of person we're talking about, this sort of like sociopath or borderline sociopath, definitely at least a narcissist person who like wants to live forever. um it's funny because oftentimes they're the same person who like, it's often a similar person that's like a mindset that's very materialist in terms of their thinking. So they like, they believe after you die, like you're just gone, like there's no soul. And sort of, there's no afterlife, and that's part of the reason they're so scared of death. But if you were to suppose to them, if you told them outright without any sort of clever trickery, like, okay, like who you, so it's like who are you, like what makes you you, Sally? And Sally would be like, my thoughts, you know, my thinking is what makes me me. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to upload all of your thoughts to this computer, and this computer will be like essentially you because it has all of your same thoughts. There's something in Sally that would be like, yeah, but that's not really me, you know, like that's the computer imitating me. And it's funny because, like, what I'm trying to point out is that even the greatest, like, materialist skeptic that doesn't believe in a soul, that thinks like who they are is their mental thoughts or their body or a bit of both, um, deep down, like they want to live forever because actually they kind of do know that they're a soul, because that their uniqueness is actually goes beyond. It's like, okay, so we'll keep your body alive and we'll upload your thoughts to a computer, and the computer will run your brain, and like presto, and they'll be like, but that's not me. So like, it's, your next question is like, then what is you? And it's just very interesting because the materialists are often the people who accidentally point to exactly what the mystics are trying to explain.
Yeah, like I do feel like that is the shortcoming, because you're right. Like, even though like these are the kind of people who would rapidly deny any sort of soul, any sort of like core essence of a person, like, yeah, like they would very quickly probably recognize like, okay, but like even if it's my thoughts, even if it's my face, even if it's my voice, like it's not me experiencing it. And I think also there's like a degree of like narcissism that like I mean a healthy dose of
Yeah.
narcissism that usually comes with like sociopathic like tendencies, which would be like if I'm not there to experience it myself, then it doesn't count. That would, I don't know, feel jealous of
Yeah.
a like an AI that was like wearing their face and using their voice and stuff. I think like it depends on the kind of person they are, because like I was thinking of the kinds who are like the ones who use their children as like pawns to just be an extension of their life. Of they're like, I know I'm going to die, so I am going to train up like my son to be like the perfect like replica of me, to like go do all of those things that I like died before I was able to do, to continue being like
Yeah.
a face and my voice. Like,
Yeah.
um, so like there are some who believe in like the lineage like that, where like for them, you know, this proxy that looks like them and sounds like them and thinks like them is like, okay, that's a kid, but cheaper. Like,
Yeah.
well, depending on how much this technology costs, but like a kid at least without the 18 years of like raising them to be an adult. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That makes
again, like
sense.
there are the others who like would rather like die in obscurity than like let a machine like wear their face and use their voice and have their thoughts, because like those are their special thoughts and voice and face. And like heaven forbid like anything, even if it's a robot, take the spotlight off of them even if they're dead. um so I don't know what the reward for them is. um Maybe like neural chips that like, I don't know, fry their brain out on dopamine until they die. That doesn't, I don't
But
know,
I
that
mean,
doesn't
we'd have
sound
like,
great.
so one of the things that makes the religion thing like work so well, and it's like morality sledgehammer, in terms of like controlling people, is that it uses the mystic, right? Because if you promise a technology, now suddenly like you have to actually materialize that thing, whereas heaven is just like something you can talk about and pretend is real, and you can, nobody can prove that you're wrong, you know. um so maybe the maybe you have to basically, and heaven is snake oil, right? So like, what about just like selling snake oil, being like, I have magic fucking beans, I have magic fucking light beans. I have magic. I have magic mushrooms. I have magic. I have a magic parasite that you stick in your ear, and it goes into your brain, and you'll live forever or whatever. Like, insert like narcissist slash sociopaths dream result: live forever, the promise of elongated life. And I mean, I guess everybody's doing that already, like the wellness industry, right? It's like, but it doesn't put people, the wellness industry, again, there has to be like a condition, like you can have the parasite, but you have to behave, right?
Yeah, I think selling snake oil is a lot easier. Um, I do feel like you could still like say it's a technology and then it's just like, okay, like we've taken all of the samples that you sent to us and like we've made an LLM that like has your face and has your voice and whatever. And it's like you could tell people like, okay, like this is going to be a full consciousness upload. And then like they're dead, so they don't know to their family, their friends, their like the shareholders in their company, like it seems like their consciousness was uploaded. And so like you have created an afterlife that is convincing enough to people that like people keep signing up for it. But yeah, like, okay, I would love to get your take on the sequel to Heaven. Like, because Heaven right now sounds boring as shit. As a modern person, like, oh, I get to go and like kiss Jesus's feet and like just frolic around in the clouds. Like, okay, that's gonna be like an afternoon, and then I'm done. Like, there's nothing else for me there. Like, there's no video games in Heaven. There's no like movies in Heaven. Like, I can't shred on an electric guitar in Heaven. Like, so what?
You don't know that. You've never been to heaven.
I suppose I don't know that because I've never been to Heaven. Um,
Well,
but
tell him
like,
that he doesn't know that you've never been to heaven.
mm, you don't know that I've never been to Heaven.
Mom, you're not dead.
I'm not dead. So yeah, like that is a pretty good point.
Yeah, but you might
Who
have
says
been.
yeah, who says I haven't died?
Uh, like any sane person.
What if I died for like 3 minutes and went to heaven, saw it was lame, and came back to life?
Don't think you've been in, in a situation like that. Like there are definitely people who have, but you aren't one of them.
You're right. All right, I'm plugging back into my earbuds. Love you.
Okay, well, let's just put it this way.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to the original premise here. So we've been working on the carrot, but like you got to understand that like the whole heaven, hell, God thing wasn't just a carrot. It was a carrot, it was a stick, and it was an overseer. And the overseer could see everything you did, even your thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't think we can beat that. I don't think you could beat like as far as like building a system of reward and punishment that promises people something that they can only have after they die and therefore keeps them in line for their entire life, and they have a witness to absolutely everything they do, including their own entire internal environment. Like you can't beat that. I don't think there's anything that sort of like you can I don't think you can outdo the lie of God is watching everything you do, and you're either going to get rewarded or you're going to get punished. Like there's no system that can put sociopaths on path. I think the only thing I think the only way to do it, it can't happen inorganically. It's like organically they have to kill themselves off with their own shitty systems of hurting others. In other words, like the sociopath's hubris is that he doesn't recognize that when he hurts others, it actually comes back and eventually hurts him. It's like, if you're a mad king and you starve your people, by overtaxing them, for example. Eventually they have nothing to give, and you can't be the king of anything, or you become the king of the garbage heap, right? Of the of So, given enough time, a system that doesn't take into consideration its own failures will choke on its own hubris. It will die by its own sword. So like I just see like a natural organic. It's just like there are too many links, and then there are not enough rabbits, and then the links die off because there aren't enough rabbits for the links. Like that's, and then there's fewer links, and then there's more rabbits, and then there's more links, and then there's fewer rabbits, and then you see the cycle here.
Yeah, yeah. I do think like we're seeing certain examples of that happening, like, um, like there is an increasing surveillance state, which like is not the omnipotence, omnipresence, omniscience, etc. of God, but like technology is like tracking all the shit we're looking up and like our entire like online persona and like shit that we thought was private. Like, and so, like, one of the things that has been tracked is like queer identity in the United States. Like that has been like a big thing. Like queerness, transness, like that has been like many states have been working on like putting together registries of like queer people. So like one of the things that has like emerged is like tracking like activity on apps like Grindr, which are like hookup apps used exclusively by queer folks,
I know what
mostly
Grindr
gay
is,
men.
Cam.
I know. I'm explaining for the audience in case they don't know.
We have exactly 0 viewers right now, just so you know.
The fans are out there and they're going to find it.
Okay, fair enough. They're gonna dig up the archive and they're gonna be like, "What's Grindr?" Because it's 2035, and Grindr is
Yeah.
long since turned into Blender, and then Bumber, which is a combination of Bumble. No, they're not going to be internet dating anymore. They're just literally just going to teleport to some. Anyways, go on.
In 2035, like I think we're going to have some pretty advanced sex robots in 2035. I don't know that we're going to get teleportation technology by then.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It'd be sick if we did. But anyway, so like they're tracking this activity and like they're finding like there are a ton of Grindr pings from like Republican conventions.
Of course.
And so like in trying to hurt queer people, like they have turned the sword in on themselves
Yeah.
of, oh, a bunch of us are like closeted queer people or like looking for like hookups in that space. So yeah, like I do think there's going to be sort of the Ouroboros of like creating all of this shit that is like designed to hurt the poors and like marginalized communities that actually ends up like with them eating their own tails because like they're hypocrites and don't recognize that.
Yeah. And I mean, even like, and I say this with like great sensitivity to your predicament living in the United States right now. So like bearing in mind that I might sound like trite or I'm not dealing with the gravity of the situation, and it's only because I'm an outsider's perspective, and so I'm not feeling the pang of it. So please forgive it. But I was gonna say even like the Trump administration itself being like overtly transactional about like they're like everything's a quid pro quo. The government is for sale. The oligarchs are going to take over. You can get a pardon, you can get a citizenship if you have the money, but you get the opposite if you don't. Like this kind of thing has been like, I mean, read Confessions, right? Like this is very American. It's from the Wild Wild West on, like from the gangsters of New York to the fucking Soapy Smiths of Alaska. Like this is like American culture, and but it has been like super like covert. It's just been like, yeah, like it's just, and so to some extent, you have this like blundering ape come in and be like, I know how it works around here. And he's too stupid to know how to hide it cleverly other than just to gaslight and lie. And so he's just like, you know, so in a weird way, like I feel like that's an example of sort of like a painful on your end, but nevertheless, like, okay, like it's in the open now. So now people can talk about it like a little bit more, like that there's like that our world leaders, not just America, but like our world leaders, like the people who are in charge of massive companies, who are in charge of massive energy sectors, who are in charge of political sectors, do not have the world's best interest in mind and are, you know, doing deals that sell out the future for the now. Sell out the children, sell out the grandchildren, sell out the earth, sell out the animals, sell out the environment, sell out, you know, human life. And so, like, I have so much hope about this era. Like, I feel like I've never been more hopeful than during this mess. And it's only because to me, I'm like, nothing was going to change as long as the Titanic wasn't sinking. You know, as long as the Titanic had no punctures, it was going to plod along and keep doing what it did and chipping away, and climate change was never going to get solved, and all of these things were so there's a weird thing about like it's like a festering boil coming to the surface to be lanced. And so my hope is that right now when I look at the world, it feels almost 50-50 in terms of like, you know, the forces that are dragging it one way and the forces that are dragging it the other. And at this stage in the game, what it seems like is, imagine there are human beings on the earth that like want the earth to be a better place for their grandchildren and care about others and care about their community at the very least, even if they don't want to necessarily hang out with them, they still want people to be happy and healthy, and for, you know, don't want to just like take every resource off the planet because like once they're gone, who cares? Think about those people on one end of a tug of rope battle with the other people who just want to take as much as they can while they're here and like fuck the future and fuck anybody who gets in their way. Like that tug of war has been happening for a while, but now it's becoming like really clear who's at each end of the rope. And so like on one end of the road you have the like Lillooetans, what was it called, the Lillooet in Gulliver's Travels, the name of the little people, they were from Lillooet or something, or anyways
something like that. It's been so long.
You've got the little, like, it's just like a ton of like little people and then like a couple of like really big gorillas. And they're pulling at sort of equal strength in these opposite directions. And so we're like, there's a split, but actually like it's illusory. Like we're actually in one of those like weird science world things where if they switched places, suddenly like the few people would be small and the other guys would be big. And the reason for that is because the only thing that makes the minority of people on the other end of the tug of rope so much larger than the majority of the people is money. And money is an agreement that everybody on the other end of the all the small people on the other end of the tightrope are agreeing to this energy exchange, this form of energy exchange, which is money. And the moment that the majority of the people who are pulling on the other end of the tightrope break free from the illusion that they have to abide by this rule that somebody else is setting for themselves, the more, once that reaches critical mass, then the sizes flip. Because all it has to take is everybody to go, I'm not using this money anymore. I'm not using this form of energy exchange anymore. And to invent a new form of energy exchange if we need one, which, you know, we probably do. But yeah, so that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think like you're right. Like it's I think the biggest challenge in getting people to just unify and say like we're not doing money anymore, like whether it's on like a global scale or even just on like a countrywide scale of like we don't care about the US dollar anymore. Like if everyone in the US was like we're gonna start trading in like Canadian currency, like the US dollar, fucking what are they gonna do? Like that's it. But like so I feel like your analogy was really good, but it like ignores the fact that there are like a bunch of people, like a bunch of little guys hanging on in the middle of the rope. So like not like pulling for the little guy side, like more on like the big guy side, but like their feet aren't touching the ground. They're not actually doing any work for the big guy side. They're just sort of like hanging there dangling because they're like, but what if I'm a big guy someday? What if I'm a big guy someday? I don't want to ruin, like, I don't want to make you the guys the big guys because, like, then I wouldn't be special. Like, I want to be one of the few big guys. And so, like, there are so many people who, like, fucking struggle with money, whose misery stems from money, who would die defending the concept of money because like they have the illusion of like well what if I get a lot of it someday though? If money doesn't mean anything, then even if I got a lot of it, it wouldn't mean anything. And so like I don't know if we would be able to like get enough of a majority of people, because if only some say we don't do money anymore and then like the fucking scabs of this like come in and they're like, well, I'll still do money. Like, okay, like now there's a new workforce that can still be incentivized with money. And now like all of the people who tried to like act against it and like dismantle the system, like are fucking jobless and homeless and like cast further into sort of the outskirts of society, maybe put in prison, forced to do like free labor. Like, okay, you don't want money. Well, like, here, like do labor and we won't pay you.
Can I interrupt this train of thought? Because like I don't think that us like I mean as we are right now, non-telepathic beings, I don't think we can do no money. Like I think it's about what form it is because like there has to be a way to transfer energy. So if I'm a baker and I make loaves of bread and you're a candlestick maker, I'm using very traditional economic terms right now. This is like actually like straight out of like an Adam Smith or like Keynesian example. But anyways, you're a candlestick maker and you want to come in and you want to exchange candles for bread, then that's great. But like what, you know, then they say, okay, well, what if you're a you know, pitchfork maker and I'm a baker and I don't need a pitchfork. You know, you have to go through all these like different, so we need these like representations of money, but it becomes even more complex. Like you could maybe get away with a trade system like that in a really complex trade system, but it becomes even more complex if you're a baker and you're selling baked goods and I'm a surgeon. How do we then trade if you don't need surgery and none of your family members need surgery, but maybe one day you'll need surgery? So we need these like, it's fine if you're my uncle, then maybe I can be like, I'll do, you know, you'll do me a solid or whatever. Like, hey, if you ever need surgery, I got you. You just, whatever, how many breads, we don't know what your surgery is going to be. Maybe it's just taking out a splinter. Maybe it's full blown neurosurgery. Each one is going to be a different amount of bread. But like, you know, okay, let's say, but if you're a stranger from another town, like I need to be able to like have something that I can hold in my hand or like in a bank account or whatever to show a representation of the energy that I expended on baking bread or you expended on doing surgery on me. So I think I'm switching who's a surgeon, who's a baker, but you get the point.
Yeah.
So like we do need these like forms of and these things, like money didn't come about because some like Scrooge sat around and be like, how can I rule the world? Like it was organic. Like we started with like shells and moved to beads, blah blah blah. Like it's just as organic as language in terms of like coming out of the soil, out of the roots of who we are and how we create technology. So I don't think suppositioning a world where people are like, I'm done with money is realistic, at least not for the next 1,000 years. However, I do think it's realistic for the illusion of a currency's strength to be shattered. And we have example after example after example of that happening throughout history. And I just got up to where I'm like, we moved from shells to beads. Like at a certain point, a shell wasn't good enough. We had to round the shell and puncture a hole in it because it was proof of even more energy input. And then, you know, like the Dutch trading company came along and like made beads, or like there was oversaturated the market with beads. So money is a technology. It does evolve. Like it's inevitable. My hope is that like, right now, the oligarchs, and I mean the true, this word's being thrown around a lot in this era, and it's being thrown a lot, especially in America right now. It's like, we talk about the oligarchs all the time. And when I first learned of the term, like nobody fucking knew what it meant. But like one thing I want to be really clear when I use the term oligarch is like, the world has oligarchs. It's not specifically a Russian problem. It's not specifically an American problem. And we have been ruled by an oligarchy for a long time. It's not just like Elon came along or the tech bros came along and suddenly we're living in an oligarchy. Like we have been living in an oligarchy for at least like since the Gilded Age, at the very least, if not like prior to that. Like when you're looking at companies like the Dutch East India Company or like, you know, even like the Canadian fur trade was a Canadian oligarchy. Like, so, and that goes back to our like origins as a like white colony. So yeah, like the oligarchs, like the true rulers of this planet, the World Bank leaders, like they rely on the SWIFT system and the American dollar, and I could see like that illusion being shattered. I can see it even sort of already starting to show cracks with the Strait of Hormuz and like all this. Suddenly people are now talking about, oh, oil's being sold in yuan. Like nobody talked about this shit before. This was not in the public consciousness. Nobody said, oh, America has the global reserve currency. 1% of you Americans understood that. And suddenly now you're talking about it. So to me, that is like symptomatic of an idea that there actually is an awakening happening, that like, oh, like something about money, like there's something in this that threads and it's global and we're all connected. We just had COVID to remind us that we're all connected. Now we're having the Strait of Hormuz reminding us that we're all connected, and we're also, it's all pointing at one country. Like all fingers point at America, and that's not because of Trump, not because of its size, but because of its currency, you know? It's like, so, yeah, I feel like, so I guess the fissures that I would look for critical mass are not just like, oh, now people are starting to say words like global reserve currency. It's becoming part of the lexicon, or the fact that oligarch is a word that like suddenly people are using. That's like a sign of like tiny, but like, I guess the real fissures I would look for are when people actually start abandoning their dollars because they are scared for something else. Like they're like, oh, I really feel like this, my dollar is. One of the biggest illusions that people have created is this idea that like inflation is prices going up. It's like, no, inflation is not prices going up. Inflation is you're buying your dollar going down, like your dollar being able to purchase less products. The moment that hits critical consciousness, then everybody's going to be like, where else do I store my energy? I don't want to store it in something that has a descending, like a depleting like big hole in it that where my energy is just being poured out and destroyed. And like, you know, it's just Lebanon just went through it, Nigeria just went through it, Venezuela just went through it, Argentina just went through it. Like all these fucking currencies losing value, and then Nigerians are like, do I wipe my ass with this money now? Like, do I wipe? This is it's more expensive to buy toilet paper, so I should actually just take this money and wipe my ass with it. Like the moment that happens to the global reserve currency, and hopefully it won't happen that way. Hopefully, I guess it's like, do we go out of this gracefully, or do we go out of it like what happened in other countries where their entire system just failed?
Yeah, like it's going to be interesting, because like the United States has like positioned itself using the US dollar as like the global reserve currency, like has positioned itself in such a central like like point in international trade that like when the US dollar tanks, like when people are like finally decide like we are no longer buying into this, like when it plummets, like it's going to be like an unprecedented event in like the modern era with the banking that we have to have like to have such a central currency like go down. Like we just haven't seen something like that play out in the modern age with modern banking, with modern finances. So it's hard to predict what that's going to be like, because like if the currency in Nigeria or Venezuela tanks, like no disrespect to those countries, but like
Nobody
that
feels it but
only
them.
really impact them within sort of the global trade. It's not like all of these other countries were also
100.
sort of like
Yeah.
tied in. And so like I think how it plays out is going to depend on like how are the other countries like coordinating ahead of time. Like are there plans for what the like currency is going to be? Like what are we going to position as the new like global reserve currency? Is everyone in agreement? Like are we going to like are we going to put the euro in there? Are we going to put like the like British pound in there? Are we going to put won in there? Are we going to put yen in there? Like what currency? Is it going to be Bitcoin? Is it going to be like another like crypto that is designed to be like we just call it like the GRC coin, like whatever, like is it going to be like a system like that? Which I mean, you and I have talked about like how crypto is like a more sensible solution than like the currencies that we have right now. Like it definitely feels like that is the future of this energy exchange. Specifically Bitcoin. Like I know that you are you are not as like invested in like the other cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin specifically. But like, you know,
Yeah,
if
exactly
we
zero.
had
Yeah.
yeah. But if we had like global economists like working on creating like an ideal crypto system, like there's a chance that like something even better than Bitcoin could be formulated by like top minds. But like yeah, I think for me, like from my perspective, the like what the fallout looks like depends on, is there like an agreed upon currency that is immediately going to fill that gap so that trade can continue on uninterrupted? Like how much of the world agrees with the currency that has been settled on for that? Because like it's like in the absence of a power, if there's not like a like power ready to immediately fill its spot, like suddenly now there's like a fight for power. There is the fight for like which one of us gets like this position. And I'm not saying like the US got there because everyone in the world was like, yes, we love the US dollar and like want to position it there. Like it was a lot of manipulation. It was a lot of strong arming. It was a lot of like it was very much an imperial conquest of the United States to like get in that position. Which makes it like could there be a diplomatic way of that happening? Because like I think that's what's going to need to happen for it to be a positive shift is like there needs to be diplomacy, there needs to be a diplomatically elected, like this is the new currency we're positioning here. Everyone has to be on board, or at least a vast majority of people. Like I know that like right now we have BRICS who are like working around the US dollar as like the global reserve currency. So like you can expect alliances like that who are not going to be on board, but like the vast majority would need to be on board. Or the other side of it is like there's no coordination. Everyone thinks, we'll figure it out when we figure it out, or like maybe like this will just happen by default, whatever. There's not proper like diplomatic sort of like pre-planning. The US dollar tanks, and now suddenly like trade grinds to a halt as like now like a summit is happening, and like or you have like countries trying to like strong arm their way into that like opening, and then like global tensions rise even higher, and or again like there is just a like freeze in trade. And I think that's part of the reason why like so many countries are like not already making that break, because I think a lot of countries want to right now.
Oh, for sure.
I think,
oh, for sure. Absolutely. Like you nailed it. But can I address some of the things that you said?
yeah, absolutely.
Or just address or give my perspective, my opinion.
Absolutely. You are much more financially knowledgeable than I am. So like I expect there to be at least three things I said that were stupid.
What? No, not at all. I no, these are like the logical next questions. And so I think they're actually like really good to bring up in something like this that's going to end up on the internet. Because I think they're like, I think that's like, you know, we do a lot of top-down stuff in terms of organizing ourselves socially. So money feels like something that we would do top-down, but like again, money. So I just want to talk about how money has behaved organically, and I'm not saying that like this pattern ensures. So this is where it's a legitimate question that you're asking, because I'm like, no, there's already an answer to this. Like, I don't know what the future holds, and we do things a lot more top down now than we ever have in history as human beings. However, money has always tended to evolve organically. So it's like the system breaks and then something comes in organically that replaces that system. So it's like, okay, we're using beads instead of shells because suddenly we got too good at collecting shells, and then now it's an oversaturation and they're becoming worthless, and so suddenly beads become the next thing that everybody's interested in collecting. And you know, now you're describing a different situation where like it's talking about a global trade collapse if, you know, one currency were to like lose all of its value. But my perspective on it is like, so in Lynn Alden's book Broken Money, she has this one chapter where she talks about what game was it? Skyrim or World of Warcraft. It wasn't Skyrim or World of Warcraft, but it was one of those type games. And in this video game, like they had natural, like a currency, like many of these like open world RPG games have. Where they have like a gold or, you know, some sort of currency that you use to buy and sell weapons and all this kind of stuff. And what the players just found that they weren't using this currency very much to buy and sell weapons and armor because it was oversaturated. Like the developers had created too much of it. It was too available. And so they were just able to buy up this like good gear like too quickly and too easily. And so it became kind of worthless when they were trading amongst each other, because the players had learned that they could trade weapons and armors and stuff amongst each other. So like, you're not going to want to take the currency of the game because it's kind of worthless. So the players, what ended up happening was you could also trade these, like, they were like a tiara or like some sort of head armor that had like magical properties to it that would like really soup up your character. And so the players, those were rare. They were like harder to find in the game. And so the players started trading weapons and armors amongst each other in exchange for these headpieces, these magical headpieces that increase their player stats. And so what ended up happening was like organically, the players just gravitated to that which is most valuable and started trading in that, which there was no top-down approach. Nobody needed to like have a discussion about what they were going to trade. Like it just happened because like they were a desirable commodity, and therefore players started trading for it. And with the real currency was no longer desirable, players stopped trading in it. So like my take on the financials is that we don't need top economists or world bankers. In fact, every time we have had top economists or world bankers making decisions for us globally amongst, for financials, like we do with the Federal Reserve sitting there deciding on an interest rate, like it actually doesn't work out very well for us. It's only like organically developed money that like, people gravitate towards. And so, money has these attributes, like things that turn into energy exchange have certain attributes to them, like fungibility and scarcity and all this kind of stuff. And one of the big things that I keep bringing up is like the SWIFT system. So a lot of people are now talking, it's in the consciousness about the American dollar as the global reserve currency. People are talking about inflation. People are talking about trade, trading in different currencies. But like more fundamental than that is the SWIFT system. So, and I'll put it this way. It's like it's kind of like everybody's talking about EVs. Everybody's talking about electric vehicles. And they're like, this is the way of the future. Is it Tesla? Is it Chrysler? Could Chrysler do? Toyota's doing hybrids. Are they doing the right thing? EV, 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 EV. Meanwhile, the person who is going to make the most money is the person who's like putting in the charging stations. This is the same with the railway. You can talk trains to death, but it's the person who's laying down the railway that's going to harvest the rail industry. Like that's the person who's like, you can build trains until you're blue in the face, but they all use the same track. You can build as many different kinds of EVs as you want, but they all take electricity. You need a charging station. And so currency is the same way. It's like you can make as many currencies as you want, but how easy is it to trade it? And we always naturally, organically gravitate towards things that have value, durability, and fungibility, and the ability to trade with ease. And so that's why we've gone from like coins. We went from coins and then they got too heavy. So then we went to paper bills, and then we're like, this paper's getting destroyed in the laundry machine. And now we're just like trading over digital wallets, right? We have my money is just numbers on a screen. Like there's no fucking paper to back it. And I send you my digital money too. Like I send you digits on a screen. So our money isn't real anyways. It's already digitized because the banks have already lent out 5 to 10 times more money than they have on those fucking digit sheets. So why did we do that? Because of ease of trade, because it's like easier to fucking me to send you numbers on a screen than it is for me to send you coins or for me to pull out paper and start counting paper, right? It's about ease. So the SWIFT system is the railway. The SWIFT system are the EV charging systems. And it is old and broken and slow. And it is the only thing our entire economy, our entire currency system, our entire banking system is running on these old, broken railway. And this is why I'm putting a little bit of money into Bitcoin, because they're building another entirely different railway that's built on magnets and flies above the city. And it goes straight to your door like Uber. You don't have to go to the station. So right now, the Swiftest system is built like old-fashioned railway. Like you have to get up, get your ass down to the train station somehow, by car, by walking, by horse, by fucking cowback, on a pig, like whatever. You still have to get yourself to the train station, buy a ticket, get on the train. It takes you somewhere kind of close to where you want to go. Then you got to get on another fucking thing. Like, you know, you got to get an Uber, you got to get a car, you got to get a horse, which is basically like Visa or your bank or whatever. And then it takes you to where you want to go. You know, Bitcoin's building a Swift system where does it go? It just goes like, the train goes from your doorstep to wherever the fuck you wanted to go, straight to Cam's house. Bam, I'm at your doorstep. So that's why I'm betting on Bitcoin, as I don't know what is going to take over. I honestly don't. Nobody does. Like, nobody knows what's organically going to be the next currency. But I'm looking at who's building the systems, the structure upon which our economic systems rely, and I see proof of work blockchain technology in a decentralized, nobody owns it, nobody runs it, nobody programs it system as being like the most likely as per our current systems. And the fact that it's coming about at the same time as our currency system is starting to degrade feels providential or proverbial.
Yeah.
Providential.
Yeah, I think the first one. Proverbial kind of works. I was thinking about it. Yeah, like, you're so right. Like I feel like I'm looking at this too much from a like I feel like on a certain scale, like, trusting the organic solution, like, is kind of a scary shot in the dark. Like, it's a little bit like you're taking the step off the ledge and hoping that the ground will find your foot before you fall. Because, like, I feel like there's not an organic solution that is widely adopted right now, because if there was, like, again, people would already have moved away from the US dollar. Like right now, it feels like there's still like a little bit of a gap, or like not enough people have like committed to like a different system because like otherwise, like we were saying, like a bunch of countries would like to just like pull back from the US dollar right now. But they're not doing that. And it's because like there's not something that is like positioned as like the organic replacement. And so like I think either we're going to be waiting a long time for the organic replacement to happen, like, or there's going to have to be sort of like a rug pulled, not in like the way that it's frequently used in cryptocurrency, but like a legitimate like pulling of the rug, and like an immediate sort of like restructuring. And that's where like the top down is like helpful, because like over time, like the organic will like prevail, but like what is the safety net created at the top while the organic is like working itself out? And I guess like the answer could always be like, okay, well, like countries are trading with each other, they just trade in one of their two currencies, like the end. Like they agree, like, okay, we're going to trade in either your currency or my currency, or something of the sort. Like, you know, you've got like France and Japan, I'm gonna say, and it's like,
but you can't do that, because that's what the SWIFT system is. Because anytime you trade internationally, you have to go through the SWIFT system. All money, I cannot emphasize this enough. All money goes through the SWIFT system, and the SWIFT system translates everything into American dollars at some point. So it's like if France wants to trade with China, and France wants francs and China wants yuan, they trade on SWIFT, and SWIFT sends it to American banks, who changes it into American dollars. They trade the American dollars, and they buy and send back the francs and the yuan. So this is what I'm saying about like everything is about the tracks that this is built on. You know, this is like the SWIFT system is what this is what. So BRICS is trading in yuan using blockchain to circumvent SWIFT, because not only does SWIFT enable American hegemony through global control of all money, but also SWIFT is a kind of economic surveillance system where American institutions can survey every single dollar or yuan or piece of money that transacts across internationally. So it has been not only a way for American imperialism and American hegemony, but also American military might is done through the SWIFT system. So like when BRIC says we're going to trade oil in yuan using a blockchain, they're already saying there's another railway here. There's and we're going to use it. It's not Bitcoin, but it's still blockchain, and it circumvents the SWIFT system. So it circumvents American surveillance. It circumvents any of that money becoming American dollars. It circumvents American banks having control over that transaction. It's like a big fucking deal.
Yeah, I guess, like, I am familiar with the SWIFT system. I guess I didn't recognize like that there are no existing pathways around it except for like what BRICS is building right now. Like, and sort of like the blockchain in general seems to stand like outside of that. But like to me, like I envision a world where like where like prime ministers of different countries can just like, I don't know, like Venmo each other with it just like going, but like, again, like it's all like routing through the US bank. So there's not like, that's what you're saying, that I am catching up. I am mentally catching up with where you're at, which is like, that's what you're saying about the railways, about the EV charging stations is like it has to be a new infrastructure.
Yeah.
It has to be an infrastructure that goes separately, because you can't just like replace like US banks with some other country's banks in the SWIFT system and have it work. Like It's a very specifically American imperial sort of.
Yeah, it's set up to, and you know, the blockchains at the new, like there are, you know, I say every single dollar goes through the system, or every single piece of monetary goes through the SWIFT system, except for like, you know, black market stuff. There are like also some very like old fashioned things where like I think in the Middle East they still have a thing where you can like get a guy to hire a guy to run your money from one institution to another. But I mean the amount of money that's done not like kept out of this, at some point that money will end up in the SWIFT system for at one point, and unless it's just gold and you're constantly just trading in metals. But I mean, that's just so hard to do. Like, carry this backpack full of gold, bring it to this guy, he'll test it for purity, and then he will weigh it. And like, it's just not a very practical way to exchange $1 billion anymore, right? So yeah, so basically, you know, I'm just caveating, because I know there would be some, like, definitely somebody on the spectrum being like, actually there are a few ways around, but for large amounts of money off the SWIFT system right now, like the only example we have is cryptocurrency exchanges, and by that I don't mean the exchanges, I mean the exchanges between people are off the SWIFT system, and this new blockchain BRICS system for trading in large international trades like oil and minerals and stuff like that. But it's big. It's a big deal, and you know, like I said, it's like you can invest in the trains and or you can invest in the railway. But it brings us back to our original point. It's like, how do we deal with sociopaths? And I'm hoping that, again, like that they will be I think my friend Ben used to say, and I don't know if it's his phrase or if he got it from somebody else, but like a capitalist will sell you the noose to hang him with, you know? I'm what I'm hoping to see is that just like the I don't know that the systems are breaking because they're done, they're over, they're dead. Like that what we're seeing is like the economic equivalent of the boomer generation. Like they're still here and they're still making things worse and they're still making terrible decisions and they're still the most selfish generation ever and they still think they're the center of the universe. But like they will be dead soon.
Yeah, it's I do feel like there's a little bit of like I feel like where we're at right now is like it almost feels like the like economic death rattle of the United States is
Yeah.
like kind of the impression like we are currently experiencing like unprecedented levels of inflation.
Yeah.
Like gas prices, grocery prices, like just cost of living in general. Like it's everything is massively expensive, which, as you mentioned, like inflation is not like things cost more, it's your currency is weaker. And like we are seeing that weakening. And like I think like a lot of people recognize like even if we were to bounce back from this, even if our economy bounced back and the US dollar bounced back, like no one's ever going to feel comfortable again. Like no one's ever going to have like the
Yeah.
same certainty in that they did before. In a similar way that like the 2008 financial crisis shattered a lot of people's trust in the
Yeah.
economy. Like it's a very similar sort of thing. And like this is now like for people my age, like I was old enough to recognize what was going on during the 2008 economic crisis. Like I was still in high school, but like I recognized like the impact of it. I saw the way it impacted my parents and my friends' parents and like everyone. I saw the way it impacted my sister who was like in college at the time and like I saw sort of like at every level of like life, like the impact that had. And it's like then we went through COVID and like we saw like the impact that had. Like different precipitating factors, but like still sort of like this massive like devastation to like the American economy. Like now this is like another like major event, like at least the third one in memory for people my age. Um, that it's like there is no illusion of like the American dream anymore.
Yeah.
Like like I feel like the choices aren't like work hard and like you'll like be successful and live comfortably or like don't and you won't. Like the choices now are like are you just gonna like go ahead and let yourself sink or are you gonna try to become a shark in the water?
Mm.
Like are you a killer or are you dying? Because
Yeah.
like those are sort of the choices. Which is like a much like starker sort of contrast and like the people who are like, well, yeah, I can work hard for good money aren't like, yeah, I can go kill. Like I can prioritize like myself over everyone else. Like again, this is where like the sociopaths are
Hmm.
thriving because like when the option is like kill or be killed, like they're like, yeah, absolutely, I'll kill. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'll kill anyone you want. Um, but yeah, like it all does feel very much like I don't know, like this last push of a dying system. And I, for one, am like really eager to just see it die. Like I don't think it's going to be comfortable. I don't think it's going to be fun, but I think like what comes after is going to make like the discomfort of the transition worth it because like right now like we are locked into a system that is so not built for like it's built for the good of very few people.
Yeah.
It's beneficial to very very few people. And it's like no one is going to really be able to thrive in the system. Like it needs to be collapsed and it needs to be replaced. And like if the people who are benefiting from the power that they gain from it are not willing to like abdicate that power, then like the only other way is like toppling it by force. And like again, it's gonna suck. Probably gonna suck for a while. Probably gonna have like a good generation or two of suck. But on the other side of that is like hopefully a system that like I don't know, is like more globally minded, like closer to like you referenced sort of like until we like gain telepathic connections with one another. Like I fully believe like in the future, like there is going to come a time when like that is where we like that is the stage we get to as humanity. Um but like I don't know, like I think that even like taking the first steps towards that, like towards that more global consciousness and stuff, it's gonna I don't know, it's gonna be good even if it sucks in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll. Yeah, maybe this is a good point to leave off since I have to get up at fucking 5 a.m. Oh, I think I can. No, I have to be there at 5 a.m. So I gotta get up at 4 a.m.
No, you should have cut me off before now. I was just blathering on.
No, no, it was an interesting conversation. I felt like it met its natural end at that point because we circled back to sociopathy.
Yeah, I love that all of this spawned off of us talking about your hockey background
Background
acting.
acting. Children's.
I knew
Well, actually, on that note, first of all, I'm going to say bye to our non-viewers. Bye, viewers. Bye, viewers
fans.
from the future who found this, who are like, we don't know what they're talking about anymore because we're living in a completely different era, and it sounds like people talking from the past about things that aren't interesting anymore. And there's a dance from Cam. Yeah,
Dance is forever.
That's for the outro music we'll never put on there.